So what the hell happened with Ed Reed and Bethune-Cookman? I'm really confused because
there's too much trash on the ground. And
Hold on. How are you confused?
Okay.
He pretty much laid it out.
So he's upset that his office wasn't clean and some other. So he went to social media and complained about the conditions.
Did you watch the whole video?
Well, yeah, but I don't understand. If he signed the deal,
he didn't sign the deal.
Okay, so the deal hadn't been signed yet, but he was already moving everything in and being a part of the program and taking things over. That's
correct.
So who got cold feet?
It's not cold feet. I think he agreed to do it. I think he was he's the type of man that wants to impact young men and wanted to go the route of an HBCU and help out. And I think when he got there, there was probably an agreement in principle to what his contract was going to be. There was a lot of people who didn't tell him how bad it was, how bad the facilities were, how bad the condition of the campus was, and all the things they were dealing with. I mean, here's the reality is Ed Reed, Hall of Famer. He wants to come coach at your school, and you can't even have the decency to clean the dude's office?
Yeah,
I mean, I know it sounds like petty or small, but you should have a damn band and a welcoming committee, and this is be the biggest, greatest moment potentially in Bethune-Cookman's history in football. I mean, look what Deion did for Jackson State during his time there and the attention it got and probably the additional revenue they were able to generate and attention and all that. You don't think Ed Reed couldn't do that at Bethune-Cookman?
Yeah.
He's the greatest – I'll put it this way. He's the greatest player that I ever played against. He changed everything that you did as a quarterback when you went out there on the field. There was times you couldn't tell what damn coverage they were playing because of Ed Reed. And literally we would go about looking at our own film and we predict – because our OC when I was in Cleveland, Rob Chazinski, he had been with Ed in Miami. And he goes, you have to understand how Ed thinks, how he works. He's going to watch what you did early in the season. And if we show that same route concept, it doesn't have to be with even the same personnel. If we show the same thing, he's going to jump it. He's going to pick it off. And because he knows exactly what you're going to do. He's like, so we would literally set up double moves where we put in a play that we had showed once before, and sure enough, Ed would see it, and we try to run a double move off that to try to get a big play. Our entire game plan was based around trying to trick Ed Reed. That's how good he was. Do you understand the impact he would have at Bethune-Cookman? And whoever the administrators are, the president, all the people involved, they didn't want to show him the sort of respect he deserves when he gets there? It's crazy to me. It is. I mean, it's disrespectful. It's taken for granted what I think Ed could bring to that program. And I'm sure he was shocked, surprised, because, A, he deserves that sort of welcoming, but he's prideful, too, to agree. I think we all can understand when you're undertaking something, you're trying to build it back up, the difficulties, the challenges, but then to not even have any appreciation or not even have all the people that said they want you and want to bring you in and they're on your team, they're on your side, to not help you build it up. And they can't even clean your office when you get there. I mean, it's just it's sad, man. It is really sad. And so I think, I don't know that it's not cold feet. That's not what this is. This is a matter of just two people, kind of realizing we're probably not going to work, going down the line, because Ed is very transparent. And he wants excellence. That's all he will accept. And I don't think that Bethune-Cookman and the all the powers that be there are aligned with him and how he thinks they need to get there and how he wants to go achieve that.
And there's been protests at the school. You've got players who have come out who are upset about the way the whole thing has gone. That's pretty mind-boggling that you would have this sort of a come up as far as your program goes, that Ed Reed, who, by the way, everybody loves, Bill Belichick loves him, anybody that talks about him. And he's actually, he's been an assistant. He's almost been borderline an intern on certain staffs at the NFL level and in college, and then he has an opportunity to go there to improve the program. And they got a bunch of crap lying around in his office. That's pretty wild that they would let it get to that point.
I would ask the question, and just based off of, adding on to what you said, if you don't care about me, if I showed up with your daughter to your home, and your home was filthy and just trash everywhere, you're not only telling me you don't care about, what I got going on, you don't care about what you have going on.
Right.
It's more of an indictment on the leadership. And I don't know if it's the AD. I say this, even this goes all the way up the flagpole. Because if you're talking about the leadership of the entire institution, if you have a football field where, and listen, it's not new for a coach to take his players to the facilities and pick up trash. Joe made guys do that one time after a game. They went through the stadium and they picked up trash after the game. Trash gets on the ground after games. It's what it is, right? That's not something that's unique. What's unique to this situation is that trash was going to get picked up at Beaver Stadium. They were going to clean that stadium. I think the point Ed Reed is making is this is your home. And if this is how you treat your home, then how do you expect or anticipate that I'm going to come in, put my name, my brand, my reputation, you just named some of his accolades, Jonas, right? I'm going to put my name, my reputation on the line. And you know what they'll say? They'll say, oh, only Deion Sanders was able to come in and crack the code the way that he did. Well, you know what? They did roll out the ban when Deion came in. They had the state police there, the sheriffs there, they had the school, the president, you name it, the school, the community leaders, this, that, et cetera, et cetera. They rolled out however the extent and the magnitude of what they could go, they rolled it out at Jackson State to Deion Sanders. And Deion Sanders still dealt with a lot of issues of a lack of resources. But there's one thing to deal with a lack of resources. It's another thing to deal with a lack of care. And I think that that's the biggest issue here. And I think what upset him and what you saw in that video and all that anger that came out of him is that I know Ed real well. I know him real well. That's a disappointment that he had because he had probably started to build relationship with the players. He knew that this was going to cost him the opportunity to be able to coach those kids. And he's one of those types of dudes. It will upset him to let those kids down. Nothing else mattered. So that's what you got to understand in the anger that people saw and heard in the video that he released. He's been his foundation. He's been helping kids since forever. In New Orleans and Louisiana, he helps kids. That's what he does. That's his thing for a really, really, really long time. And I think that anger that he had was that, you bring me into a situation where you're telling me immediately before I even coach one game, before I coach one practice, before I do pretty much anything, this is how much you care about the success of this program. And that's a problem.
It's like when they tell you the honeymoon phase is over. Well, if the honeymoon phase sucks, isn't that kind of the indicator that things aren't heading in the right direction? Now, he did apologize.
It ain't gonna magically get better.
he did apologize on social media for the rant and said it was unacceptable as a coach, as a father, as a leader. But then this video also came out over the weekend where he was talking with his team, explaining the situation that they weren't going to ratify his contract. And here was Ed Reed talking to the Bethune-Cookman football team.
Yeah, I curse. And y'all done heard curse words before. And they got parents in here. You know I don't want to leave. And like I told you, I want all these recruits. But they got some corrupt people in this world, some evil people that don't care about kids like I do. So I want y'all to hear the truth from me.
So that was Ed Reed fired up.
He went a whole lot further.
Yeah, he went more than that.
Yeah.
And by the way, Deion even came in and chimed in. You know, in that video, Deion came into. He kind of consoled Ed to a degree, but one, I thought it was awesome. Deion supported Ed, and because he knows the difficulties of it, right? Like he knows from his experience at Jackson State, and Ed alluded to that too in the video that went viral, where he was kind of going off on the administration of Bethune-Cookman for the difficulties and how Deion basically, opened up a conversation about the tough conversations that need to be had about HBCUs and all of that. And Ed just continued to shine a light on it. And I think the hard thing is now you've got a group of young men who don't have a head coach anymore. They don't have that leader, that figure, a bunch of kids who've been recruited too, especially given the timing of all this, that throws a wrench in their life, in their football careers. And I hate that for them. I hate this for Ed Reed. Because I was excited. I really was excited not only to see what he could do there, but to see where this was going to translate to down the road as a head coach. Because I think that much of him as a player and as a person, as far as every encounter that I've ever had with them, or just going up against playing against them.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
They talked so crazy about Deion when he left Jackson State. Think about that. People have criticized him. They have called him everything but his name. Some people said he set HBCUs back by what he did.
Well, yeah, I mean, LaVar, he left for, a team that won one game last year. How dare he? How dare he take, one of these primo jobs and leave everybody else behind? God forbid a guy wants to improve a situation and takes over a legitimate rebuild at the next level, and everybody wants to criticize him for it. God forbid.
I just think it's crazy, the judgment of some of these situations. Like Deion Sanders is supposed to coach at Jackson State until he retires. Like, that's wishful thinking. People do this at major levels all the time. Somebody will leave Rutgers and go to Michigan. Somebody will leave Michigan and go to Notre Dame. Somebody will leave this place and go to USC. It happens all the time. And for what it's worth, be clear. Deion was trying to get the Florida State job. So all the people that were talking crazy about him, you should have understood. Deion was trying to get a major Power 5 coaching job out the gate.
Right.
He had to go a different direction because they were skeptical about if he could do or not.
Didn't Deion have to come out of his own pocket to pay for certain things at Jackson
There was
State?
a whole lot of things that Michael Strahan donated. What airline donated. There were a lot of different resources that Prime brought to the table, and these are things that people don't even know, right? Don't even know. Dr. Dre, they gave him headphones. Like, he was spoiling them kids, but what he was doing was he was showing them what the standard is, and I thought that Prime was exceptional in how he handled a situation where if he had really shined a light on it from the jump the way that Ed Reed did. Now, I don't know if Jackson State was as in bad a condition as what Bethune-Cookman is, but I will say this. I know it was bad. I know Deion was frustrated and dealing with a lot of different issues that never even touched the surface of media to even be discussed. And it would have been embarrassing, just like right now. Bethune-Cookman should be embarrassed more than anything else. They should be embarrassed because, to me, if you're in a trash, rat-infested place, and this is what you have those kids using as their sports facility, and this is what you think it's supposed to be. And like you said, Q, you can't even clean that man's office. I don't care if it's a Hall of Famer or not. You're bringing in a leader of these young men. You can't clean that man's office for him to come in and bring his own stuff.
You used a different example. I would just say it like this. If I had you or Jonas over as a guest at my house and I didn't set up like the guest bedroom Like, imagine if, like, the bed's undone, the sheets are dirty from the last time someone else had been there. Like,
there's trash on the floor.
Picture that concept. Yeah, there's, like, tissues and stuff on the floor. Lord knows what's in those. I was thinking more congestion because I've been a little congested this week, but maybe something else. But in all seriousness, like, think about
Torn
that.
Pants on the floor, like pants with holes in them.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
But in all seriousness, like, you'd walk into one of our houses and you'd be like, man, you must not want me to stay here. Like, you didn't even prepare a spot for me to come.
And all these people talking crazy, they would think the same exact thing if they were in the same situation. You don't want me here. You must not want me here. You said it exactly the way anyone with sensibility would be thinking in that moment. You must not want me here.
That's wild, man.
Is that what it is? Like, man, you want Ed Reed to go, huh? Like, you can't even clean the man's office. Like, whew, like, wow. Like, this is up to you. This is your job. Like, I get painting lines on the field. I get being the equipment manager. I've had to do all those things as a head coach. But I'll tell you, even at a high school level, when I got hired as a head coach, my office was clean. They even got me a new chair and a new computer monitor. How about
that? By the way, that's not even.
They might have needed to get a new computer with the last coach.
And that's not even not even a football thing. That's a school thing.
That's a school thing.
There's no
Correct.
separate janitor for just the football team and then the rest of the school. Like so you're telling me there's no janitor anywhere on campus? No custodian anywhere on campus that can clean up?
Groundskeeper. You don't have a groundskeeper just to pick up trash. Like I said, I could understand lines on the field, getting the equipment, like you got old beat up equipment. Like that's things that you say, okay, that's frustrating, but we can figure it out. Old uniforms, we can figure those things out. Okay, they don't have apparel, they don't have spikes, we can figure those things out. But there are some things that have fundamental values to it. And if you're sitting there and you're saying this is a higher education institution, then there should be a higher standard in terms of how you handle little things. You get up in the morning, you make your bed. You make sure that your bed is and your room is clean. They say the most successful people in life cleaning their rooms. I think that the example that's set and it being exposed the way that it exposed, Bethune-Cookman should be embarrassed, and everybody else that may fall under that lane should take a good hard look at it as well and make sure they handle things differently moving forward.